call the policy committee to order, and our first order of business is the pledge of allegiance. Right? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second item on the agenda is the approval of the January 20th, the policy committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Tonight we have policies for first reading, which require no action, but we'll move them to the board for first reading. Policies BDD-R is changing to policy BDDA, board meeting rules of procedure and order. Minor revisions in that and relettering. Policy BEDJ, public participation at board meetings, major revisions. Policy GBEB, staff conduct, which is new. Policy GBH, staff group relations, major revisions, relettering. It's now going to be policy GBEBB. Policy GBI, staff gifts and solicitation, relettering is now policy GBEBC. And policy GBEBD, employee use of social networking websites, which is new. Questions? Matt?
Under policy BEDJ, I'm just pulling up to make sure I pulled the right areas. I know that we're trying to keep efficiency in meetings, but I think it's important the public is able to bring items up, even if it's not on the agenda, as long as it's respectfully presented. So I would say that we would cross out pretty much everything after, I get advised the purpose of public input is to give the residents, teachers, and staff, which covers everyone in the city. But everything after that does not seem to be the area about new items. And then something I get, if they want to bring it up, actually, they just scratch the paragraph.
Which paragraph is that?
That's the third paragraph, it's underlined in red. There's no problem someone bringing up an item that they feel is important, then we can refer them to the right committee meeting.
Shane?
Yeah, I'm completely agree with Ms. Foley. That falls under the constitutional right, whether the First Amendment. You got to, we open that podium up for public comment. We got to let them discuss, especially at the main full board meeting. The whole school district as a whole, that's up for discussion. So if you're putting it's not on the agenda, at the full board meeting, the whole school district, the whole school is all on the agenda. Now, if you have somebody comes to a committee meeting and wants to talk about building and they're at the instruction meeting, then yeah, I think we can instruct them, you gotta go to the proper meeting. But at a full board meeting, we can't, as long as they're talking about what's inside the district, we can't, I don't think we can tell them they can't. That's their First Amendment right.
Karen, sorry. Speak up if I can't see you because it's a straight line and I'm not going to have you see
me.
Mrs.
Okay.
Keen's up there.
I have just a couple questions that I just kind of need clarification on. So I would assume, Kyle, it might be you. I read 91, RSA 91A, and I didn't read in the RSA 91A, I didn't read where it says to limit the time. Do you know if that's in there and I just missed it?
I can't call it for verbatim, but if you notice, the recommendation was to remove the cap that we had. So, and I can tell you the rationale for some of these changes if you want.
Well, I have a few questions first, if you don't mind. So that wasn't in the RSA 91A, correct? It wasn't, I just want to make sure
I can't recall off the top of my head.
That's correct.
Okay, and then my next question is, who wrote the revision? Do you know, was it the lawyers that contacted you and Sandy? Was it you and Sandy? I'm trying to figure out like why we wrote the way that we did.
So this language comes from the New Hampshire School Board Association as we update policies. As you know, there's been lots of strife in our state over lots of different topics at board meetings that have at times become somewhat unruly. Not so much in our community, thankfully, but in other areas of the state. The recommendation to take off the cap of time is making it so that public understands they don't have a cap. And so in some communities, when 30 minutes happened and if there was 50 people still in line, they stopped. And they said that wasn't a good look, so they recommended that we take it off. The other reason that it was recommended for new business was, if you think about it, a school board meeting is a meeting held in public. It's not a public meeting. Work gets done at our committee meetings. So having people come to these meetings, and the recommendation could be that you don't have a cap at committee meetings if you want, or that you could say it's 5 to 10 minutes at committee meetings, because this is where the work happens. When you come to a full board and there's no knowledge of what's going to be said at the full board, there's nothing we can do until the next committee meeting, which could be a month away. So the logic was to try to close the gap in that circle of when work actually happens. But again, these are all recommendations that we thought we'd put forth to you.
Okay, I just a couple more questions. And then that reducing it from 5 to 3 minutes, it doesn't say whether it's committee or full board. So is the intent to be both for this policy?
It was a recommendation.
For
'cause
both?
If it was, no, I'm saying it was a recommendation for public comment. So you could right now recommend that it's 5 or 10 at committee and 3 or 5 at public. This is why we're here talking about it tonight. It's a workshop.
And then I guess my other concern is, so last month we had 3 people come up and speak, and one of them was talking about the graduation. I assumed it would go down to special services. So I think if we
Point of
ask.
order, we're talking about policy BEDJ.
Yep, can I get to it? Do you mind?
That's up to the chair.
Okay. It does follow along with this. So my concern is, I assumed it would go to a different committee. So if the public were to have to email the board chair, but they email the wrong board chair, I don't know that we can expect our public to know if they have a concern, whether it be the 3 topics that we had last month. I guess my concern is, are we expecting them to know, or would the expectation be they email you to request it?
Well, that's currently the way our policy is set up, that if any member of the public has a concern about their school, they start with their school principal, or that they go to me. If you, per policy, if you are contacted by a member of the public, you are then to send it to me so I can take it up with the appropriate people.
Okay, and then my last question is, so we crossed out the 30 minutes. So it says the board may motion to extend. Are we saying,
This means it's open. It wouldn't stop at 30.
so it would just continue past?
It could, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, anyone else?
Just move these down there, sorry.
Yeah, I actually don't see any reason for this at all. I don't care what the policy board that the state level has, or whoever, or the national level has, it doesn't make any sense. What makes sense to me is that people that have a complaint cannot go to a regular board meeting, the monthly meeting, because there's no give and take there. And so nobody really knows specifically what their question is or what their problem is. And you would encourage them to come here. And to have a time limit here, or to have them stick to a particular agenda, makes absolutely no sense to me. And I am sure that they don't think that they ought to contact the principal or the superintendent for an issue that they think is a policy board issue. So I think we ought to just eliminate this and not, I'm going to vote against this whole policy right here. So, because I don't think it makes any sense to be doing this.
So Ann,
Yes, Matt?
I don't know if this is where we would motion to eliminate paragraph 3 under the proposed first reading of BEDJ.
You don't know if it what?
Is this where we can make a motion to
Yeah.
eliminate a paragraph that's already in the first reading?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to eliminate paragraph 3 under policy BEDJ.
Second.
Can you,
Is Discussion?
That's gonna be-
I just want to confirm for the record, so it starts with any resident.
Nope,
the
the entire paragraph, which starts as the school board and ends with new business in quotations.
Third paragraph.
That's
Oh,
the
I thought
third
you meant the
paragraph.
third paragraph maybe in red, so it's just the third. So the school board advises and then it ends at any business.
Yep, that's the entire third paragraph.
So are you're not advising to go from 5 minutes, you're
I'm doing one
wanting-
motion at a time,
One at a
Okay.
time, just getting rid of that.
I just wanted to be
Yeah.
clear.
not,
No.
Calm down.
Brandon.
Cranky.
So to be clear, we're eliminating the paragraph that says anyone speaking and public comment at our meetings would have to stick to items only on the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Or to items from new business at the previous agenda.
Striking it all.
Striking all of that out.
Striking all out.
So they can bring up any topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any discussion on that? I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of Matt's motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? And next, Sarah.
I would like to make a motion to change the limited to 3 minutes to 5 minutes. In the past, we had, well, that's my motion. Wait for discussion.
Okay,
I will second that.
okay, now for
For
discussion.
discussion, the reason is, in the past, when it's been 5 minutes, if we do have a long line of 25-plus people, in the spirit of time, we've amended the policy to limit it to 3 minutes so that we could hear everyone, and we would we would amend the 30-minute too, because we would listen to everybody. So I think that it should be 5 minutes, and then if we need to
And I think the
amend
following
the policy.
paragraph, paragraph does say that the board can amend,
Yeah.
depending on the topic and the number of people speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Karen?
So you're saying keep it at 5, and I agree. And I do, again, I think we have, when there's a long line, we've limited it to 3. I think my concern, and I support the motion, I think my concern is our tax dollars pay for the New Hampshire School Board Association, and if they're recommending this, I'm a little concerned that we're following that recommendation, because it really does seem like it limits what people can, when they can speak and what they can talk about. So we pay dues to them, and then we're listening to potentially them saying
So point of order,
restrict, so.
the motion is on 5 minutes, not on New Hampshire School
My
Board
bad.
Association.
That's true. And the, I'll discuss it afterwards.
Sure.
Matt, did you have a question?
I would be more comfortable if we're gonna change the number from 3 back to 5, or keep it at 5. The recommendation is to remove the extension beyond 30 minutes. I think I'd be more comfortable if there's some sort of a statement saying that the board can extend the amount of time and set it in policy as opposed to just leaving it out there.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
And we're not voting on that part right now, though, right?
I
That's
did not
next.
make a motion, so, no. I may make a motion after this to add something to that effect, or if that's the consensus here. I mean, if I just feel like it needs to be in there, if the board and the chair, however we want to word it, feel like we want, like, for example, some of the discussions we've had have been, we've had an hour plus of public comment, and we had to vote to extend that, so, I think that there should be some sort of clause in there, or is it a general knowledge that the board can do that anyway? I don't know.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Are you saying, so 30 minutes was stricken, it's being recommended that we don't have a limit? Mr. Pappas? So
I'm sorry, what?
it's unlimited time right now, because that's being eliminated.
Well, I was looking at the paragraph that's crossed out above there, actually below the one we're talking about right now, where it says the board may motion to extend public participation beyond 30 minutes, and I see that being crossed out, so that's what prompted me, but not just
That means
motion
that
that
it's
it's stated further down that the board can do that,
Oh.
so I think that allays my concerns.
I think that was a redundancy that was pulled out because,
So it's unlimited time, is the way I read it, that as it stands,
The new
the
policy
new
has no
policy,
limit.
no limit.
Any other questions? I'll call the vote on that, a motion to,
It was Sarah's motion.
My motion.
Sarah's motion to change the 3 minutes to 5 minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes. Any other discussion on this policy? Ken?
I have one more. It says, at committee meetings, the public may be recognized by the committee chair to comment or ask questions about agenda items. We have invited people before when they wanted to talk. Is there a reason that's stricken out, so we're not allowed to, the chair can't recognize anybody if that's taken out?
it's just about getting the agenda set. That's why, again, if we know about it, we can plan appropriately. If you think about, in the past, we've always had special guests. You get your backup before they come, so we can have a spirited conversation. Like tonight, we have a presentation about something from the middle school. Again, that was something they piloted, so that you had information before this meeting. So that was the intent. And again, I think the spirit, if you understand, again, having gone to these meetings where they talk about revisions, the spirit of this is not to limit input, it's to direct input to the right place. Workshop meetings are where you're supposed to get down and dirty and talk about language and talk about all of those things, where in a public meeting, where there's public comment, there's no action taken. I mean, I know some people have talked to parents, they're frustrated that but that's not the intent. It's talk before a meeting, right, set another meeting, come to a committee workshop, right, that's how things get done.
And if you think about it, it's how things get done correctly without mistakes. If you're hearing about something for the first time at a regular full school board meeting, to take action on it then would be without all the information.
Yeah, my comment was just at the committee meetings. I just wanted to make sure that if you're the chair and you wanted to recognize somebody, that you were still able to. That was my comment.
Yeah, Kyle, is there a policy that helps outline that process? That we're trying to, it sounds like we're trying to funnel people to the right places so we can actually get work done around what their concern is. But I don't know if we have a way that people can look up and see like what they have to do to follow the chain of command.
We do have, well, we actually do. We have communication between the board, staff, and public, which is a policy. I can't recall the name, the letters off the top of my head. We also have a policy about committee meetings and what committee meetings do and how things work. And you contact, Tom, if you were in chair of instruction, I'd send you a topic, or I get the topic and then I call you and say, Tom, before next meeting, I'd like to put this on the topic on the agenda because I've had 5 parent concerns. I'd like to bring that. That's how that works.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if maybe it makes sense to bring it forward just for review, and then that way the public can kind of, since it's a hot button topic right now, maybe bring it forward in next month's meeting or something to review.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to lay on the table, which is a superseding motion, and so it can lie, for policy BEDJ.
This gives me a problem because you're not on this committee. And I think motions have to come from this committee.
Yes.
Excuse me?
I don't see your name on the list of committee members for policy committee.
I am on the policy committee.
No, you're on finance, bills, and
Bills,
Yeah, your
okay.
personnel building
All
fund.
right. Sorry about that. So we'll have a go around at the regular board meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
good.
fine.
I can't wait.
Okay, so any other motions? Any other questions on any of the other policies that were for first reading?
And I do have one.
Yes.
For policy GBEB, staff conduct, is there a separate policy call for use of school email?
There is.
Okay, thank you. And that was that one. And I just have one more, Ian.
Yep.
For policy GBEBD, can we add TikTok? I know it does say this is not limited to, but that's more of a relevant social media platform.
Which policy, I'm sorry?
GBEBD, the new one,
Oh, sorry.
the last one. We listed a number of social media outlets now. It does say this list not including, which is the smart language, in case something pops up. But TikTok is relevant, and we probably should just add that as clarity. Do we have to do a motion for that, or is that? I'll do a motion that we add TikTok to talking tick, GBEBB.
Second.
Cool kids use.
Only if you do a TikTok to describe it to everybody. Okay.
There's so many.
Did I get a second? Second?
Bob's recording.
Second? Any other discussion on that, on the TikTok?
I think Sandy does.
Sandy?
I'm just curious where that would be added, in which,
First paragraph.
what page and what section?
GBEBB says, the school board strongly discourages school district staff from socializing with students on, including but not limited to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, and WhatsApp. We're gonna add TikTok to that list, and I'm sure tomorrow there'll be another one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna call a vote on that motion. Everybody, anyone, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any other questions on the policies for first? If not, I would need a motion to move it to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Just get dark, or am I
It got dark.
dying?
Yes.
The dark side.
Okay. Policies for second reading. Policy HO, staff job actions, unauthorized staff absences. That's for relettering, it's now HPA. HOA, staff job actions, revision and relettering, now HP. IA, instructional goals, no changes. And policy IAA, instructional priority objectives, no changes. Any questions? We would need a motion to move this to the full
I have a
board.
question.
Oh, Sarah?
Thank you. Policy IAA, the very last one in our packet, instructional priority objectives. It's just the wording. The district will meet and maintain requirements, state minimum standards. Should there be, the district will meet and maintain requirements of state minimum standards? Should there be an of? It just, it reads awkward.
That doesn't read
It's awkward.
well.
The district will meet and maintain requirements of state minimum standards as defined by the Department of Education. So I'd like to make a motion to add the word of between requirements and state.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adding of?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other questions?
Sorry, I didn't catch it at
That's
first
okay.
reading.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Make a motion, to move the policies for second reading to full board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Now we get to public comment. Anybody from the public like to make any comment?
Right here?
There's a podium over
Yep.
here. I think that's probably a good place.
Walk across. Great, my name is Tabitha Davis. I am a resident of Rochester. Matt Bellio, thank you so much for changing the public. I do have a question. I'm not sure if you guys can talk about it or not, but I sent everybody an email today about mass going next week. Mrs. Grassi, your email did not work. Mrs. Keene, your email did not work. And the new Ward 6 person email did not work. I know I sent you emails before and they went through, but for some reason it didn't go through this time. Mr. Downs, thank you so much for answering the question. I did speak to also Mrs. Stokes on the phone. I'm not sure if you guys can talk where it's COVID, but there is vacation next week. People still are doing sports, so mask or no mask, we're not too sure. Thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Can I just ask a question? Kev, you sent an email to all of us?
Yes. Did you not get yours either? No?
Website works great.
So I know it's policy and I know we have a code of policy. Kyle, can you just confirm, because I don't know if you got, did you get the email as well? It was basically if it's the 18th that we follow with the 5 days, after the 18th, if they have sports and stuff, are they still required to wear masks? And I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, so we're continuing until the ad hoc committee meets on the 28th to recommend to the board what to do next.
Okay.
That was only sent to 8 board members. I have it up right here.
Okay, I'll have to check out to why my email didn't work. I got only 144 emails today, so maybe I have a limit. Anyone else like to speak at public comment? If not, I'm going to close public comment and move on to other. Shane?
Just a couple of questions, probably for Kyle. So who drafts the first drafts of our policies? And also, when we're going over policies, how do certain policies just come about? Like, why today did we talk about public comment and talk about changing public comment?
So if you notice, our policies have a number, a lettering system, and so we follow the alphabet, and we're going in order of the alphabet.
Okay, and then who drafts the first draft of our policies?
So we work with New Hampshire School Board Association, so if you see something from 1985, it probably originated there, but you all are the policy-making body of this department, and you would then amend and change as you see fit.
Okay, thank you.
And if you'll notice, the policies all list when we last looked at them, or several times. It will say when the school board last looked at that policy and either amended it or kept it the same.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else under other?
I have one more question to follow up with that. So the policy, Kyle, comes up, and then, so do we just, is there anything other than the New Hampshire School Board Association that we look at to see what's changed or what law has changed, or is that mainly just our go-to place that we kind of go to?
Well, there are meetings that we attend at the state level, so there was one recently about legislative updates. Those legislative updates have not become law, but we make a note to say that, again, we're at letter B right now, so we go B and we follow suit. But if I identify that next year a change in legislation may require us to change something in letter I for students or instruction, then I make a note so that this summer it's probably going to jump all the way up into maybe the C's, that we're doing a couple of C's, but then there's an I, because most of the times when they put something in a law, it goes into effect July 1. So we need to be prepared for that. So we have a list of pending potential changes in the future.
Can I ask a follow-up? Do we, since we're on the policy committee, have access to those New Hampshire School Board emails as well? I mean, those policies as well, so that we can look at, because I've never been on the policies, so it's never been an issue for me. How would I get onto the New Hampshire School Board Association to look at those policies?
So they have a website, but we're lucky enough to actually have a seated member on the executive board right here.
So how would I get in? So I can just sign up and go on to those emails?
I don't know.
I get emails from them. You don't?
Yeah.
But I've never really looked at them, so I didn't, like, I tried at one point to get on to look at a policy and it says I didn't have access, so I didn't know if that was because.
Karen, I think, if I may answer your question.
Yeah.
I believe that because there are some school districts that are not members, that's something we pay for. That's a service that we pay for. So therefore, there are some school districts that don't pay for that. So they don't put them out for everybody to see because they don't want non-member districts to just steal it anyway and get all the benefits without paying for that service. So that's why they don't publish them as far as I am aware. And they require a username and password.
So do I email them to get a username and password?
No, I think what you do is you email me like what policy you want from them, and then I can get it for you.
I kind of just want to look and see what they have. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, so if we have policies, you know what I mean? So am I not allowed to get on and just
Correct.
kind of,
Yeah, correct.
so, okay.
I mean, I can add, I have a meeting in March, at the end of March, and I can bring it up. It's going to be a while before I have that meeting, but
Yeah, I mean, again, it's, yeah, because we get the potential revisions, but like if there's a policy that I have a question about, I'd like to be able to, I'm in the policy committee, to be able to go on, and if that's where we're getting our policies from, I'd like to be able to go on there and look at what new policies or new things are being discussed, just so that I'm up to date on it. So if that would be possible for somebody to figure that out, I would like to have access to that.
All the policies they have come from members, like Matt might go and make a suggestion for a policy that they would pass at their meeting where they update all of their
Yeah.
policies. So they're all members like we are, like from other school districts that.
Doesn't mean I'm smart.
that
Right, I
create
get that,
those-
but
create
if
those-
we're members of it and I'm part of the policy committee, why wouldn't I have access to it? I guess that's what my question is. I don't wanna just look at I just wanna be able to see what's out there. I wanna look and see, you know what I mean? If I wanna look at a policy, I feel like if I'm on the policy committee and we're the policy making board, I was just curious why we wouldn't have access, so. You know what I mean, like,
I think as Matt pointed out, there's some kind of financial reasons for that. But I would also recommend that you could go to any school's website and look at their policies. They have very similar letters, and they're all the policies are drafted by you. So you may say, we don't like this part of New Hampshire School Board Association, so it's not there. Other members may say they like it that way. So you can do some comparisons of policies if you like
right,
that
but
way
if
as
I
well.
don't have the New Hampshire School Board Association's policy, how do I know which part is New Hampshire's and which one isn't? That's what I'm saying, like, I guess, maybe I'm just saying it incorrectly, but if I don't, like, I see your revisions, and I'm assuming those are New Hampshire School Board, but I'd like to see that policy of how it's written there. So we revise it and we change ours, which is great, but I'd like to see what the original one was from the New Hampshire School Board Association, just so I can see what it is. If that's what we're following, which I think we're paying for a service, which is great, if I'm on the policy board, I would just like to see that policy in its entirety. And I don't want to put the work on you and every policy you bring forward add that attachment, because I think that would be confusing. So if I had a username and password, it would just be easier to look that up. So you're going to look into it?
I'll look into it. It may, we don't have another meeting until the end of March, but I'll look into it.
Well, I mean, I've been on the board for quite a few years and I've never asked, so I can wait.
How long have we been a part of the New Hampshire School Board Association? And also, besides the policies, what are the other benefits? I'm sure you can probably answer that.
There's a lot. They put on workshops endlessly. You probably get emails about them every single day practically. They will actually come in and do a complete top to bottom review of all of our policies and make suggestions and whatnot. They do superintendent searches. They have legislative action, so they keep tabs of all of the bills, and there are hundreds of them that affect education and affect everything that we do. So they keep track of all the bills in the legislature and make the members aware of what's happening and whatnot, among other things. I mean, I could probably go on and on, but that's the basics.
What I've done in the past, Karen, is when there's a particular policy that's of interest to me, is I've actually called the New Hampshire School Board and had a conversation, and they know what school districts are members or not, and they would share policies that are related to a topic that you have an interest in.
Yeah.
Did you mean the School Board Association?
Yes.
That's
Yep.
different from the New Hampshire School Board of Education. So
New Hampshire
I just
School
wanted
Board
to make that
Association,
difference.
yeah.
Can I just, and I think that's great, but you know, if I have 30 minutes on a break and I just kind of want to look at some of the policies, I mean, just to get myself up to speed,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not a policy writer, so to be able to look at some of those other policies, I think would educate myself if I'm going to be part of this board. So that was just my question.
Well, I think it's hard in the sense that if you give everyone a username and password, the management of that, as board members shift and change constantly, and licenses that are involved with that is probably negative, I think. But that's just my experience around a shared database like that.
Thank you.
Any other?
I'll just remind you of your 5-year exercise.
5-year exercise, yes, we're supposed to discuss our strategic 5-year plan. And if this committee would come up with 3 topics that we would like for, I mean, if you want 2, you can have 2, we don't have to do 3. I think policy might be hard to do 3. So that we are looking long-term at our policy making, or long-term at our, what the work our committee would like to do. It's not necessarily topics for doing this week or next week, but we would put them in the works for the 5-year plan. And that could have ramifications for the budget maybe too, so it's time for us to reflect as a whole board on how we want to direct the money in the next 5 years. Anyone, any wishes for? Yeah.
I'll go. I think I mentioned it at the 5-year, but more community involvement when we're talking about policies. And I know that, I think it's gonna be for every single committee. But I think it's great that we have a large community here tonight coming and speaking. And I think we need to involve them when we're talking about anything that we're changing in our district. Because I think it's important to make sure that they realize that they're a part of this process. And for me, I don't know if this would fall along the 5-year, but I'd like to know more about the process of the policies that, you know what I mean, like we have. Like we asked some really good questions, so I feel slightly better. But I mean, if the New Hampshire School Board has a training on, you know, how we look at the RSAs, I mean, we referenced an RSA and I kind of read it and I was very, you know, slightly confused by it. So if this is going to be a working board, then, you know, maybe some training on that type or coming forward and mentioning that, because I think that would be important. So those would be my, and then maybe linking the RSAs, not putting them in there, but maybe adding a link for us when it's coming to a committee. Not on the policy itself, but linking it so we can, that was really hard for me to find. Couldn't find
The RSAs can be difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And they change constantly.
So those would be my things. Not linking it on the policy itself, but linking it for us on the
As
agenda
the
when
committee
we're
on the
looking at it.
agenda, or?
Because I get that the RSAs are gonna change, but it's not gonna change while we're talking about the specific quality, so
Right.
maybe looking at it, because when you hit the RSA New Hampshire 91A, there's a lot of different websites, and then unless you hit the correct one, I don't know that you're getting the right, you're getting somebody's opinion of that law and not necessarily what it is, so that was a little confusing, so maybe linking that.
So board training, that would be a good, map.
I'll just say, Karen, I'm happy to show you at the end of the meeting exactly where all the RSAs are. They're all labeled in numerical order with chapters about what each chapter group of numbers
Yeah,
are.
because I couldn't find
I
it.
found it in about 30 seconds. So
Yeah, it's a Gen Core website, so it's, make sure you have that language there.
Seriously?
Yeah. I do that.
There's an app for everything.
There is an app for everything.
And they did link the RSAs in the backup for this meeting, I think. Yeah, good charity from last time.
Did she?
Yep, they were
Yeah.
linked.
I saw it was written, so that was good. Oh, is that why it was in red?
Yeah, mine's in blue.
Mine's in, I thought, well, I'm used to it being in blue, so I didn't click it because it was in red, so.
Under legal references.
All right, so yeah, that was perfect, because I mentioned that last time, so yeah, came right up.
Check.
Tell her, great job.
When we had our 5-year committee meeting, I had come up with the idea of creating a way that our policies are, I don't know if it's possible to be more user-friendly.
Yes.
So that when you're looking for a topic, that the alphabet soup that we use to match, it matches the School Board Association's way of labeling policies. I get that, it makes it easy. But it doesn't make it easy when you're looking for a topic.
Do you remember years ago though, when it was the old system, you could type in a keyword? It's not available anymore. That was useful, because you could type in whatever you were looking for and it would kind of pull up those.
Right.
That would be amazing, because it's hard, you're right, it is hard to look at those.
So maybe we should investigate, and it might take time to find a system, but that's perfect 5-year work.
Yeah, we talked about, that was what the roadmap is with our current web developer, to see if that capability is, that was something I had written down last time as well,
Okay.
so thank you for rewriting it.
Roadmap, I like that. Anyone else got an idea for 5-year? It doesn't have to be thought of today, you can contact me with it if you think of it in the middle of the night. Don't call me in the middle of the night, but Write it down. Call me the next day.
Robert calling you.
She's available 9 to 5.
9:05, yes. Actually, I'm probably not available, but I am available till 11 most nights, so,
Oh, jeez. Stay up later than I was.
yeah. Is that it for everything?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.